right, so you have this brilliant research idea. That's the super exciting part. But what happens next? You're staring at this mountain of information that's already out there, and you have to somehow find a path through it all. Well, in this explainer, we are going to break down exactly how to do that and turn all that chaos into clarity. Let's jump in.
This really is the fundamental question, isn't it? It's what separates a good idea from a truly great contribution. See, before you can add your own voice to the conversation, you have to understand the conversation that's already happening. So think of this as your roadmap, not just to find what's already known, but to use that knowledge as a launch pad for something totally new.
We're going to tackle this with a 5-step game plan. First up, we'll define our mission. What in the world is a literature review anyway? Then, we'll learn to spot the 2 main types of knowledge you're going to run into. After that, we get hands-on. I'll show you where to find your sources and, more importantly, how to search them like an absolute pro. And we'll wrap up with the most important skill of all, how to read, not just for information, but for inspiration.
So, let's start at the very beginning, square one. Every great research project, every single innovative paper is built on the foundation of a literature review. And this isn't just some box you have to check. It is the most critical first step you will take.
Okay, let's really break this down, because the key words here are systematic and critical analysis. That tells you right away that a lit review is not just a book report. You're not just passively making a big list of things you read. No, you're an active detective. You're engaging with, questioning, and evaluating everything that's already been published on your topic.
So, why do we even do this? What's the point? Well, there are 4 huge payoffs. First, you'll sharpen a kind of vague idea into a laser-focused research problem. Second, you'll find the evidence you need to really advocate for your specific approach. Third, you get to check out the methods other people used. You know, what worked, what didn't, and that makes your own work stronger. And all of this leads to the ultimate goal, making sure your contribution is genuinely new and not just rehashing what's already out there.
Now, to do a proper review, you have to understand that not all knowledge is the same. Researchers are constantly working with 2 really distinct types of information, and knowing the difference is totally key to building a strong foundation for your own work.
Think of it like this. Textbooks are like the foundation of a house. They give you that solid, established knowledge, the concrete, the frame, the basics that pretty much everyone agrees on. Research papers, on the other hand, they're like adding one single, new, innovative window to that house. They present one small piece of new knowledge, but they assume you already know what a house is. You need both, for sure, but you've got to start with that foundation.
Okay, so we know we're hunting for research papers, not just textbooks. But where? Where do we actually find them? Let's get practical and open up the researcher's toolkit. Your main hunting ground is going to be something called bibliographic databases. Basically, these are massive, specialized search engines designed for one thing: collecting and indexing scholarly articles, conference papers, and all kinds of academic stuff. They are the libraries of the modern researcher.
But here's the key. You don't just dive into any random database. Your choice has to be strategic. First, you need to quickly figure out what the main databases are in your specific field. Is it PubMed for medicine? Scopus for engineering? Second, your selection has to be tailored to the exact problem you're exploring. A biologist studying genetics and an engineer designing circuits are living in different worlds, so they're going to be using completely different maps, or in this case, different databases.
Let's look at 2 of the heavyweights, Web of Science and Google Scholar. Think of Web of Science as a surgeon's scalpel. It's got this powerful citation indexing and amazing filters that let you be incredibly precise and targeted. Google Scholar, well, it's more like a giant net. It's simple, it's powerful, and it catches almost everything. But that's also its downside. You can get totally overwhelmed with results, and it's way harder to separate the real scholarly gems from everything else. You know, having the tools is one thing. Knowing how to use them is something else entirely. Just typing a few words into the search bar, well, that's not going to cut it. To get the results you really want, you need to search like a pro.
The key here is to be systematic, not just random. Let's walk through a professional search process using Web of Science. First off, if you're looking for an exact phrase, like machine learning, lock it down with quotation marks. Second, add more keywords to narrow your focus. Third, and this is a total pro move, use the Refine Results panel. This is your command center for filtering by date, language, or for sticking to only peer-reviewed articles. And finally, to cast a wider net, you can connect related terms with the word or, like AI or artificial intelligence, to make sure you catch everything that's relevant.
And here is a super critical piece of advice. While Google Scholar is a great place to start, you should always supplement it with searches in academic databases like Web of Science. Why? Because those databases give you targeted access to key journal articles and conference proceedings that you might totally miss in a more general search.
So you found the papers. You've got a nice little stack. Now comes the most important part of all, actually reading them. But you can't just read to understand. The real skill is reading for insight, reading in a way that actually helps you generate your own new ideas.
To do this, you actually need to develop two different reading mindsets. First, there's critical reading. This is your detective mode. You're suspicious, you're looking for flaws, and you never, ever just assume the author's arguments are correct. Then there's the second and honestly harder mindset, creative reading. This is your inventor mode. You're taking a positive approach, actively hunting for new applications or connections that maybe even the original authors might have missed.
To really get into that critical mindset, keep a list of questions like this handy. Ask yourself, okay, did they even solve the right problem? Are there simpler solutions they totally overlooked? What are the limitations here that they're not talking about? Are the core assumptions they made actually reasonable? And is there a flaw in their logic somewhere between point A and point B? Asking these tough questions will transform you from a passive reader into a truly active analyst.
So, let's just quickly recap our researcher's journey. First, remember the literature review is the absolute foundation of everything. You have to know the difference between foundational knowledge you find in textbooks and new knowledge in papers. Use those databases strategically. Master those pro search techniques. And finally, read everything with both a critical eye for flaws and a creative mind for new opportunities.
I want to leave you with this one final thought, because it perfectly captures the spirit of a great researcher. It's not about finding faults just for the sake of it. It's about engaging deeply and honestly with the material. Being suspicious and asking those tough questions isn't just a good thing, it's how new knowledge is born.